Welcome to Uncontained, episode 183. I'm your host, Aaron Static Render, and this week I speak to Ari Mihalopoulos. He's the guitarist and singer of a band called Destrophy, and also he was on the road with a metal band Otep for 9 years playing guitar as the backing band. So he's got some experience in the music industry. He was signed to Victory Records until he just heard, like days before recording this episode, that Victory had sold. We get into all of that and also what he's doing now with physical training. I'll keep this intro nice and short. Just make sure you subscribe to Uncontained on your podcast player of choice. And if you like what you're hearing, please rate and review Uncontained on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So let's jump right into it. This is my conversation with Ari Mihalopoulos. Ari, how are you doing, man?
Doing great.
All right, cool, man. It's been a long time since I talked to you. Actually, the last time I interviewed you was back probably 2006-ish.
Wow.
Back when I was working at a college radio station, KBVU the Edge in Storm Lake, Iowa. And
Wow.
You were pushing the CD Crystalis.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that was back when music cost money.
You mean to buy?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, now you can just download everything for free.
Yeah. I really didn't see that coming. 25 years ago when I kind of set out on this career path that, the thing that you monetize would become free. So
yeah,
it's been a minute since 2006.
So how have you adapted to that? That's kind of big. Just get started with the heavy stuff right away.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as I say to a lot of my friends, who are always aspiring to be in the music business and all this type of thing, I usually say you can't make any money in music, but you can make money off musicians. Right.
Okay. So,
in other words, providing a service, basically. So, from the beginning, from 1999, I opened this studio, the Interlight Recording Studio in Iowa City, and I made money recording bands. So I'm making money in music off musicians. You see what I'm saying?
I think that is actually how I met you in the first place, either at a show or when my friends in Freak Label came to record one of their albums there and got to check out the studio. Pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah, but that's, but again, that's just an example, because to make money off music itself is a whole other thing. It's much trickier.
Yeah, basically, does that have to come from merch sales and live shows, or have record labels taken all of that too?
Some have. I haven't personally been involved in a deal that is, they call it, I think, the 360, which means they get a piece of your live performance, they get a piece of your merch. I don't know what else they could get. Yeah, certainly. Well, they kind of get that anyway, baked into whether you purchase CDs from them at a certain cost in order to sell them to the fans. So they're kind of making their money there.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, our deal, is they didn't mess with any of the merch, thankfully. So
that's good, man. That's good. Because for the longest time, like I heard, that's the main way that bands can actually make a little bit of money is through merch sales and live shows.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can't claim that we were very good at it. I've seen some bands that just absolutely kill it in merch, and it's really impressive. And I just never had the fashion sense. I was always, unfortunately, too busy working on the music,
Yeah, the little things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I have had one major fault, I'd say, career-wise, it was keeping my eyes and ears and brain very focused on the art, and not enough focused on the business, and not enough focused on the marketing. The career choices, things like that. I wish I had more in my brain now. Obviously, know what I knew. If I knew then,
what do you know now? Yeah, that's the whole thing, man. It's always like if you knew what you knew now back
Right.
then, you'd be so much better off. But it doesn't work
Theoretically.
that way.
Right. No, it doesn't. It does not.
Man. Okay, so Destrophy, I know. Are you guys playing anymore?
Haven't. Last show was in 2011, supporting the release, the last release, which was Cry Havoc, the second release on Victory Records.
Okay.
And on that tour, we were picked again to open for Otep. And at the same time, Otep herself asked Destrophy to be her backing band, which, as I've told the story many times, I initially declined politely. I just said, hey, I've got an album I really worked hard on. I believe in it. And to be honest, we had toured with Otep twice before.
Yeah.
And, the first time was all right. And the second time, it was just kind of getting like we were second of 4 or 5 bands, and as opposed to being direct support. And honestly, her fans just don't buy a lot of other bands' merch. And it doesn't take too long to figure that out. And eventually I'm like, guys, we cannot tour with this band again. It just doesn't make sense. Stylistically, it didn't make sense either.
Yeah,
we were very much,
they're like super heavy, and you guys have some melodicness to you as
totally.
well. You got some heaviness, but you got the melodicness inside too.
Yeah, I was thinking at the time, it was much more like Breaking Benjamin or 3 Days Grace, that type of stuff. I mean, we kind of started, I don't know, with maybe like a Seven Dust, Fear Factory kind of vibe, but always rooted in Metallica. I mean, Metallica is the reason why I do this. Metallica is the reason why I still do this. Probably just
really,
I find passion for the instrument and just playing old Metallica riffs. It actually keeps me invested. Sometimes when I'm like, I'll hate all the music business, all the musicians, everything about it, and then I'll play, Battery or whatever, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh yeah.
That's why I like this.
Yeah, right. I did all this stuff in the beginning. Now I remember, and then I'm happy again. So it doesn't take much for me. But yeah. Anyway, so stylistically, direction, all that kind of stuff, we were much more geared toward that. I still remember I was the only one to my knowledge that was doing like vocal warm ups, backstage, because everyone else was just doing the, I mean, there was like little kid guys just making this crazy monster noise, and I was just like, I don't belong with this. I'm not good at that. It's not my thing. And I can't imagine a band coming to a show. It'd be like coming to Summer Slaughter and seeing 3 Days Grace. It's not appropriate. And so, so like I said, I kind of planned that being the last. 2010 was kind of our last time playing with those types of bands, and management. We talked about moving to kind of different waters, and the new album was very much constructed around that. And Victory at the time seemed very behind it. I mean, they picked like 6 or 7 singles. Because I'd write something, they're like, okay, that's the single. And then I wrote another one, they're like, that's the single. And over again, it got to the point where we were ready to film a video, and it was still between 3 songs.
Really?
The night before the video.
And that's a lot of songs that for one album to be called like a single. Like that's like Green Day, like American Idiocy. There's like probably like 8 singles on that.
I'm still very proud of the album as a whole. It was certainly more poppy or more commercial. It was just more chorus and hook oriented than metal.
Yeah.
And at the time I was kind of burnt out on metal. I could arguably say that now in terms of things sounding very much the same, so everything had this kind of like, it was the same guitar tone, the same drum tone, the same, bark, the same yells, the same everything. And I've never, I don't know, I just get sensitive to repeating things. So I went out on a limb and did a very personal, like the lyrics. I got really, very deep and much too deep for myself. I can't even listen to the record anymore. Honestly, there's stuff that I don't like. It hurts to revisit.
Okay, so that's why you can't listen. It's not like the quality of the music you can't go back and listen to.
No, not myself. I'm very proud. In fact, usually when I play that stuff for bands we're with, they're like, how was this not like a huge record? And well, I would throw in there that it was essentially ignored. The minute, so we were done with finished recording, the offer came from Otep to come out as her backing band, which I said no to. And And she's like, that's cool. I totally understand. Because her whole band had quit.
Oh,
So
wow.
she had a new record that she was basically doing on her own with guy from Tony Campos, I think, from Static X.
Okay.
And that's probably the more famous of the people. And she was recording with Ulrich Wild, who she worked with on the previous album, Smash Control Machine. So anyway, I say no. Tony hears this and he's like, basically, and her manager at the time, it was like, this is a big mistake. And I was like, oh, I didn't think it was like that. And then Tony was like, you do this or the record's going to get shelved. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to be in Otep, supporting a record that should be on a 3 days Grace tour, but now we'll be out with Otep. And, I think we went out with like One Eyed Doll. I mean, again, good fun band, but just the wrong party to wear that outfit to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you kind of got forced into playing with Otep in a way.
Absolutely.
Like strong arm band.
Totally. So we do that tour, and it goes as expected. Oh yeah, Blackguard. But we do the tour. It doesn't go great. In terms of just everything. I think just my band, we were kind of not getting along as well at the time, and then so Otep has another tour lined up. It's I think we will go out with Cavalera Conspiracy.
Okay, Max Cavalera from Soulfly.
Right. So we did that tour just as Otep, which at that time was my drummer and my guitar player from Destrophy. So we just kind of rolled over, and at that point, I was getting paid as a musician, as opposed to in Destrophy, where I was paying to be on the road, to to get the van, gas and all this kind of stuff. And so, all of a sudden I went from owing a lot of money to making a little money, just like a little bit of money. I was like, oh, okay, this is okay.
It's always nice.
Yeah. And honestly, Otep and I got along great, and it was kind of a cool situation. It was nice to not be always having to push things, push my own agenda. At that time, I kind of lost my agenda. I really lost my way. I didn't feel like I knew how to connect, with the audience. I think a lot. You're familiar with Weezer, of course.
Of course.
I don't know how into Weezer you are, but there was an album they had called Pinkerton.
Okay. Yeah, I know of Pinkerton.
So I wasn't late to the. Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't into the first Weezer album, or the one with the sweater song and stuff. I wasn't as into that. But I liked the videos and all that kind of stuff. But when Pinkerton came out, there was something about that record that really connected with me, and I liked it initially. I remember buying it. It was in college, and it was on the Edge, and it had this kind of weird artwork. And I'm like, I'll buy a Weezer record, and I loved
Sounds like
it.
You did it begrudgingly.
I did, because I was just kind of looking for new stuff. I mean, back then, can you imagine you would actually buy something that was on the end rack, because it looks interesting, and so yeah, I just loved it, and I loved the sound of it. I mean, the lyrics were weird and really, like too personal and all this stuff, and I really dug it. And of course, it ends up being like their black sheep record that they disown for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever, and then it ends up that it turns out that it was hugely responsible for like essentially music genres and influencing all these musicians, much like it did me.
Because I hear a lot of musicians refer to the Pinkerton album, actually.
Yeah, because it's awesome. It's a very, I think, if I've learned anything through this whole thing, the more truthful you can be to yourself, the more interesting the art is. And whether it does well or it doesn't, you absolutely cannot predict or control that. Because what makes something successful is it's outside of that, but doing something that's truthful and honest and is something that you love as the creator and you are totally into, I think it just guarantees that there's going to be something interesting and valid about it, and that's the way to do it. And the best thing about music now being free is that it's removed the incentive of, well, maybe we can make a couple bucks if we make it sound like, this band, or this band's hot now, we can do that. I'm sure in Nashville, it's a whole different game over there. But as far as the rest of, street musicians and people making stuff in their basement, or in their garage or whatever, like, you should make stuff that you love, and it should be the stuff that you love, not that you think that dude loves or whatever. It should be
Definitely
something. Yeah, it should be something that, because what is inherently personal to you is actually interesting to the world. And it just ends up working out that way.
Kind of like that Orson Welles quote. Nobody can do you but you type thing. I might have slaughtered it a little bit, but the only person that can do you is you. I think that's how it goes. So
I like the idea of the guy who voiced Unicron saying, you do you. That's good. I'm into it. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, though.
No, that's all I'm saying. And I think I learned. I mean, what I did with that record, it had that in it. It also had, it had some aspirations of being a little bit more polished and more, well, I guess, simple. I just wanted something kind of straight ahead. All the songs were like 3.5 minutes. They weren't like crafty, weirdo arrangements. It was just, get in and get out and be catchy. And, and again, for what it was, I'm still proud of it. But unfortunately, I went so truthful with it that it's hard for me to listen to. It's also, just like a painful time. So it's hard to divorce myself from what was happening at the time.
I hear you, man. I hear you. At first, when you said it was painful to listen to, I was thinking it was like, going back and listening to my first episode of Uncontained is a little painful to do because, you've grown so much since then. Not that it was necessarily bad, but it wasn't what it is now.
Absolutely. I have those CDs. I have those earlier ones. The one from like 96 and 97. Those are like, I don't know, bad pictures, from your past.
Yeah, they're like your awkward teen photo where you're just like strangely looking at the camera, glasses crooked and hair sticking up in the back. Yeah,
braces and acne, man, for sure.
Oh yeah, rocking that. Right on, man. So now let's jump back into talking about Otep. First of all, something the singer's name actually is Otep. I thought that was just the name of the band, but it's her name. She goes by Otep. Okay, I learned something new today. I guess I didn't dive in deep enough. Okay, so now you actually went on the road and toured with her. We touched on that just a little bit. Now,
9 years.
Did she have anything to do with strong arming you into joining Otep? Like, her manager did something, but was that her?
No, and she canned the manager after that.
Okay.
So I can't take, total credit, like it was the ultimate gesture, because I think there was much more going on, but it was kind of part of it.
Gotcha.
Because the way it was presented to me was not the way that, she would be silly to do it like that. I mean, and then and she, I think, wrote me and said, let's clear the air. I heard that this happened, and I just wanted to let you know, I just wanted you guys because I got along with you. We were different people. She and I are more, again, about the art. It was about the show. It wasn't about after the show or, the perks of being in a band, if there are any. It was just about doing the show. That's how I was in Destrophy. It's from, I guess a party pooper, because I was so fixated on this thing. The show was like everything. It was what I dreamed about and what I wanted to do perfectly, or as close to perfectly as possible. It was a heartbreaking experience every time. I remember, and still to this day, or to the last show I did, where my favorite part of a show, every show, is when the lights go down, right?
Okay.
So when the lights go down and the house music dims, and then like the intro starts and it's dark and it's a perfect moment. It should be a perfect moment.
That anticipation for the band to come on, like, hey, they're coming up soon.
it's great, and it could be anyone, but it's still like this kind of pure moment, pure beautiful moment. And I swear I've been robbed of it for almost like decades, just because miscommunications with house lighting or sound
Yeah.
guy or whatever. There's just always something where every time I'm like, well, that didn't work out, but let's do this show anyway.
So is that your favorite part as a spectator as well,
I
or
do
is
love
that
it.
just on stage? Like, is it
No,
different?
I'd say both. I mean, I even dig the vibe right before a movie starts. When it's like something really big. Like when Star Wars came out and stuff like that again, and that
That
pause before the it still gets people, and I like that we all share it.
yeah.
It's a shared anticipation. It's a communal thing, um, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I love it.
That's cool, man. I've never actually heard anybody talk about that part of the show before. But yeah, that does like have that anticipation slash like everybody being like, oh, the band's starting and getting closer to the stage, like coming
Yeah,
up, getting their position to watch.
anticipation,
Sometimes you
man.
have to fight for it depending on the
Yeah.
genre of music you're listening to.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. It's just just like anything, anticipation is oftentimes better than the actual thing, and
Yeah.
really relishing it. I think it's a good way to enjoy life too. If you understand that about anything, you understand that anticipation is almost important as how the thing tastes. Maybe more important.
Yeah, possibly. But I don't know. The anticipation to something, and then say you're anticipating some tiramisu or something like that, and it's like, oh, that's gonna be good. Then you get it, and it tastes like, I don't know, the coffee is burnt, the
Sure,
lady fingers are stale, and
absolutely.
and it's like,
Well,
well,
to
and
to that point, I would say your anticipation was the pleasure, right?
I guess it was the best part. Yeah. And then
Exactly.
the real thing, it was just a letdown.
Yeah, yeah, and you can't control that, but you
True.
kind of can the anticipation.
All right. This is like some Zen stuff right here, Ari.
Hey, my name is Aristotle. It kind of came with that
You are Greek, so
expectation,
philosopher.
and named after the philosopher for
Yeah.
sure. It's definitely my character.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Now, going back to Otep, I'm glad
Mhm.
that she actually cleared the air and was like,
Mhm.
"This wasn't me," because that could have been an awkward 9 years playing.
Right,
Like, like I'm only here because I don't want my CD shelved. Get in there and play, guitar boy.
right, right. No, no. I mean, I became a very big part of it, and wrote or co-wrote the next record, and yeah, I mean, primarily wrote the next two. So
Right on. Were you on any of the albums?
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
Hydra, Generation Doom. So Hydra was 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. And then Generation Doom 2016, and then Cult 45 2018. In Cult 45, I actually recorded and produced. We
Okay.
did it. We did it in LA at the Lair, which is where she did Smash Control Machine.
Okay.
And then we took tracks. I took the tracks back here to the studio and worked it here. And she did vocals in LA, and then sent stuff here. So we could keep going because it was several months.
Right on, man. Right on. Very cool. So you're not doing Destrophy at the moment.
So Destrophy basically kind of became a dead project. Well, for one, I had no motivation to do it because I didn't have any time. Really for the past since 2011, I guess I spent about half the year on the road in some way, whether it was rehearsals or video shoots or just random stuff. So I was in LA as much as I was, here, and
Yeah.
and so yeah, and then again for my, I I ran out of what did I want to say, what was left to say. I said all this stuff and it really didn't work out, and then I have to kind of redream it again. And then, since then, like I said, I was so busy with Otep, but, I left the project early this year, in 2019, because at a certain point with that, there was nothing more I could do. I mean, I've done everything. I mean, there would be, the only way I could do more would be I'd just do the next record on my own, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd be benefiting the project anymore. I think, maybe we'd be due for some new blood or something. I think I've given it as much as I could.
Okay.
And so at this point, I was just kind of figuring out what to do with life, and just get my own life back together a bit, because 9 years of doing that, you kind of neglect some things at home. And so just getting stuff back together here, and then this opportunity to be a physical trainer, which I basically have been for the last dozen years or so, to people, to friends. And
you definitely look like it.
Thanks.
Look like
it. I got really obsessed with, well, especially performing live. You get a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I just didn't know how to eat right, and God, I was starving myself. I mean, literally starving myself. I was eating like 800 calories a day, and it works for a little bit, and then a horrible slingshot effect happens, where you just can't do 800 calories a day.
Yeah.
And then God, I put on all this weight, and then I'd spend months trying to get it off, and it was just this yo-yo thing. And it really took, I'd say, maybe 2014, 2015 around, before I finally got my handle on it and said, okay, I need to reestablish how I do everything. I figured it out, and now it's like easy. It's fun. And having gone through that, I'm driven to explain to people how to do it.
Yeah.
How to take away the, people will tell me, they're eating something like this because they think it's healthy for you. They're eating trail mix. So yeah. I know firsthand, trail mix is the easiest way to put on a savage amount of pounds.
Really?
Oh man. But you think, oh, it's healthy, right? It's trail mix. It's got all healthy things. Yeah, but it's calorie dense material that's basically meant for people who can't carry much with them on a trail, hiking in the mountains all day, and they need to live, right? So unless you're doing that, don't eat it. Do not. Get away from it. Unless you can be cool with like that much, like a couple ounces. And who wants a couple ounces of trail mix? No way. But it's things like that I've been happy to pass on to people. I've learned so much about just kind of, I don't know, some physical therapy and just helping people with aches and pains. Because since I've gone through so many, I've had some horrific injuries. I tore both my pecs.
Wow.
I tore my hamstring. I know what it means to go too hard, and I know what it means to not give much effort. And I know where that is. I know how to get somebody in the right zone, and to get somebody results fast, not magic, but fast enough,
Yeah.
Time is really your friend in all this stuff, provided you're doing something reasonably good for yourself. And figuring out a good diet instantly. I'm talking like in within several meals, you'll be like, I feel better. I went to the bathroom. It was great. It's just like stuff that will happen, that your life will be better. Absolutely, unequivocally, unquestionably better. But getting someone to actually do it, is like convincing someone to cut off a finger or something, because they're like, I'm not giving that up. No way. I'm doing this. This is my thing. I love it. And I'm like, really? Do you? Really analyze next time you eat that, wad of cheesy fries or whatever the thing is. No one who eats that thing feels immediately good. It's just, you don't. Now, what do you feel good about? The anticipation, my friend.
It all comes back to the anticipation.
It all does. Because that's what sells it. You're like, I love this thing. Do you really? Well, you're telling yourself you love it, and I believe that. So you're building yourself up. You're like, oh, I can't wait to do this thing. And you do it, and that's when I want to be with the person, to be like, okay, how do you feel right now? How do you feel? It's been 5 minutes. how's, they're clutching the stomach or unbuttoning or whatever. There's always
Yeah.
discomfort after eating crazy stuff. And you're never honest with yourself because you're so sold on the sizzle. You're sold on the marketing of it. And yeah, that stuff kills me. Marketing kills me.
Yeah, marketing, man, it'll get you. Out here in California, everybody does grass-fed beef. Like, I know it's healthier for you. But
well, you have to ask why. Because why is it healthier for
it's
you?
less fatty.
Well, but I don't even know if it's less fatty. In some ways, I think it changes the nature of the fat itself. So it's a healthier fat. But the thing is, in general, I'd say don't eat a lot of fat. Eat the most trim stuff so that ends up being a little more marginal.
So what do you think about like the Bulletproof coffee diet where they like mix like butter with coffee?
Good marketing, man. Dude, I've drank it. I drank it at the Erewhon place over in if you know LA. I remember getting it there because I saw some people on like Instagram drinking it, and it's over in the Melrose area. And yeah, it's tasty. It's expensive and it's crap, man. Don't do it. It's not.
No, I tried it once too. I was like, okay, this tastes kind of weird. I've never really put butter in my coffee.
It tastes like toast to me.
Toast? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've done coconut oil myself. I haven't like coconut oil in coffee, like, as like whatever.
Again, these are marginal things where people should be looking at like the big picture, right?
Yeah.
And the big picture is just to eat like a grown adult, and it takes care of a lot of the stuff. And if you
you mean like grown adult supersized meals at Burger King, like for a grown person?
Grown adult, I would hope would not feed their kid that, like instinctively.
Yeah,
they do. I know they do.
Because it's easy, right?
Well, yeah, it's easier. And a lot of people say it's cheaper, but if you do the math, it really isn't. It's cheaper at the moment. But if you do your math that way, God help your bank account, because the things add up. What you do every day adds up. And what my morbid saying is, as you get older, you become the sum of your mistakes, right? So it's like these things start to add up. It's like, it's all good for a while. You can survive and you can do well, and in spite of the things you do against yourself, but they add up and they accumulate. And then when they start showing up, it's usually kind of, a little closer to too late than you might like.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. Like I have like recently pretty much cut soda out. I replaced it with coffee, which is pretty much straight black coffee.
That's great. Now with the soda, it's just as long as it's calorie free. You don't get excited about bubbly water. It's fine. There's nothing. I think the artificial sweetener thing, it's like if you know a little, it's terrifying. If you know a lot, it ain't a big deal. So it depends on how much research you want to get into. But yeah, if you want to start arguing with like a internet psycho, I just don't. I can't. I just do. You know what I mean? One of the things about getting in shape is that it's kind of, again, unquestionable. I can argue with somebody forever and I'll be like, honestly, what are you trying to do that you're convinced me of? What are you trying to look like? Typically, it's pretty lean. It's this.
Yeah.
So whatever you're telling me, it's like, go do it if you want to prove it.
So before I jump into my final questions here, what would be like one piece of advice, physical fitness wise? Like, say if somebody wanted to get leaner, maybe not necessarily ripped, but just lean and maybe a little bit cut, Yeah.
My best thing, I always tell people, don't drink your calories. Make sense?
Okay.
Don't drink your calories. What's that
hard
mean?
liquor.
Yeah, right. Well, honestly, if you must medicate yourself, don't do it. Do it with a minimal caloric expense, I would say. I've asked somebody. It's like, are you just looking to get wasted? Is that your goal? It's like, if that is, well, do it with expediency. Don't piss around. Just do it. And unless your goal is both to add weight and get wasted and destroy your liver. It's like you got to pick your meds, I think, for what you're trying to address. But in general, I always say, don't drink your calories. Don't drink juice. Don't do smoothies. I mean, protein drinks, I'm a fan of if it's just protein. But carby, weird, sugary drinks, they're not in your best interest as a general rule. That's my $1,000 advice for free.
All right. Very, very good. All right. So we'll get some more advice from you here. But
I have so much.
This will be more geared towards the entertainment industry. If you want to throw some fitness stuff in there, feel free.
Sure.
But what advice do you have for somebody who may be looking to get started out in the music industry?
My favorite advice was from Cliff Burton, who said, "Quit." It's still my favorite. Good old Cliff. But not. What's better advice? If you pay attention to the business, if you are interested in getting in the music business, you better have an interest in business, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and a lot of bands I'll talk to, they're trying to get signed. That's their big thing. I just want to get signed. I'm like, well, what do you think is going to happen when you get signed? What do you think that's going to do for you? Well, it gets you to the next level. That's usually what they say. I say, okay, I understand. I know the mentality because I had it. And I said, well, what do you think that next level is? What do you think they're going to do for you that you're not doing currently? It's like, do you think that they're going to take over your social media and like elevate it to some sort of, Entertainment Tonight status? Do you think that they're going to just drop a bunch of money on this thing and, pray that it makes all that money back? I mean, when you get someone to be realistic, I think they are able to be realistic, but most people are very comfortable not actually thinking about what it is that they're asking for. That's advice in itself. Like, figure out what you really want, and then be very realistic and detailed about what that actually is. Otherwise, you'll flail about and just be like, well,
okay. So do you think there should be another goal for a band besides getting signed, or should they be focusing on something else?
Absolutely. Write awesome songs. There's nothing that beats that. That beats everything. It literally beats everything. Write awesome songs. How do you know they're awesome songs? Usually people will tell you, not your friends and your mom or whatever. It's got to be, people just like, I need a copy of that song you played. I need it. I was lucky enough. I worked my ass off to try and be a better songwriter, and I would have people threaten me that wanted, copies of like something I had like on a demo tape that I didn't like anymore, and I would hide them away, and they were trying to steal them, literally. So it was a good I don't know, portent. It was like in hindsight, I'm like, that was a good thing. If people wanted it that badly, this weird thing that I made, maybe there's something to this project, or at least to the art that I'm doing that makes it wantable. It's not good enough just because you did it. They have to want it for some reason. It has to have something that calls people to it. And what is that exactly? I know you got to figure it out for yourself. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I'm always on the lookout for new great stuff. I'm trying to think, what's the last thing? I mean, like the Billie Eilish stuff, right? That like caught on with everybody at the same time. That really basic, catchy thing. And I also think that her personality and her presentation obviously ties into it. But at the same time, having not seen her and just hearing the song, there's something like, this is something a lot of people want. And, try and do that. Try and make it. And if it's not, pay attention to what people actually do want and figure out why. What is compelling about what these people are doing, and how is my stuff not doing that?
But I think to go back to something you said earlier too, to add on to that, you find out what people want, but also make sure it's something you like.
Correct.
Don't just be like, oh, they like this, I'm going to do this. Because if you don't like doing it, you're going to burn out on that quick. It won't be sustainable.
No, I would say it's more in figuring out what your material may have. It's more analyzing the greats for why is this working and why is the thing I did not working.
Yeah.
Right? It's not so much like, although there's absolute merit to write your own version of this song. It doesn't have to be like the only song you ever did. It should be the one of 200 songs. Make your own version of that song. Try and figure out, why does that song work? What is it that you like about it? Why do you like it?
Yeah.
Right? Figure that out and figure out how to make, how to communicate that thing that you need to communicate, and use the tools that are out there to do it. Because what gets in the way of a lot of people, I think, is just misuse of tools or lack of knowledge about tools.
I hear that,
especially like arrangements. I'll hear a song and I'll be like, dude, there's no chorus in this song, and those are pretty important things. And it's hard to explain to someone until you play them a regular song. And you be like, watch, what happens here really soon, within like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And you see how we knew that part was coming. When you show someone that, they go, oh. And then you can look at their song and say, okay, here's a really beautiful thing you did, very unique and very interesting. How can you prop that up in a way that now I anticipate, right? It's coming and it's a big deal, and that's just using, it's like building, I don't know, you're building a countertop and like, look at another countertop. How did they build, are they using?
Yeah, kind of use it as a blueprint.
Yeah, what kind of glue are they using? It's like, why, if yours is like just on stilts, I've never seen one like that. Maybe, you figure it out. You start to, you start to reverse engineer some of the things from that other people have done, or that they consistently do. It's not necessarily what this one band did. I think that's always a tricky practice. If you try to, well, Tool does this. Like, yeah, Tool can get away with that.
Yeah.
But there is that Tool. Don't try and be them. They've done it. So instead of looking at what they did, maybe, see why you like what they did, see what other people have done to solve a similar problem. Just start addressing songs as like little problems to solve. I think that can help people a lot. It certainly helps when I have people in the studio. That's one of my jobs, is to help them figure out, how can we get from this to this and make it smooth, or make it impactful, or make it dynamic, or make it worth waiting through another repeat of that part. Right.
Definitely, man. So that talking about your studio brings me to the next question just about perfectly. With your studio, with your music, with even your physical training, what is it that you're doing right now to promote yourself? Whether it's something with social media, what is it that's working for you right now?
Oh my God, I am the worst. I've never, I don't, it's social media has never been remotely instinctive or interesting. My drummer who was in the Otep, he does little, he's into Snapchat and all this other kind of stuff. He talks to his camera like it's a person, or to his phone camera.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, and I think you need that. And I watch YouTubers and how comfortable they are just talking, just endlessly talking and speaking very well about some subject, with seemingly little editing. And God, I just don't think I have that. I'm very. I think I'm good with one-on-one. I love talking with people. I was a teacher. I got my education at the University of Iowa as a student or a substitute teacher for 5 years, and I love instruction. I love, I just like being social. But I don't know if I like being social media, right? I loathe it. I'll be honest with you. It's extremely uncomfortable for me.
You got to give the people something to anticipate on social media, Ari.
Yeah, right.
It's all going to come back to that. We'll probably have to name this show "It's All in the Anticipation" or something. This episode. So
you can have a picture of the doctor from what's that Halloween show? Anticipation. What's his name? Dr. Frankenfurter.
Yeah. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were going towards. Right on, man. So social media isn't necessarily your strong point right now.
No. If I got a kryptonite, it's that. It's
fair enough.
I need to work harder on it. Everyone tells me. My girlfriend tells me. My band's always told me I'm terrible at it, and I need to figure it out. Yeah,
I hear you, man. I can always use a little boost to my social media game as well.
It's tough being. I'm actually a very private person. I'm more than willing to share with someone who's interested. It's extremely difficult the idea of just vomiting information on someone who doesn't necessarily want it. Which I know it's not the nature. I mean, if somebody doesn't want it, they will. Click right over it. So I'll have to get over that disconnect there somehow.
I hear you, man. I hear you. It's just put it out there. You'll get like 3 seconds, and they'll decide if they like it or not. Then if they don't, you won't be bothering them anymore.
Yeah, that's the other tough thing is the armchair quarterbacks or just anyone. It's like everyone has an equal font size. Right?
Yeah.
No matter how uneducated, backwards thinking, wrong-headed you are, you have the same voice as someone, who's not that. That's always been very troubling for me. It's part of the haters and the ability to just say whatever you want. But I use an example. There's people on the internet. Obviously, I follow a lot of fitness guys that will criticize a Mr. Olympia, his like exercise form, and it's such a hilarious thing. It would be like I don't even know. It'd be like trying to tell Bill Gates how to make, it's like you're really missing out on like some income streams, something like that.
Yeah. The people who are doing that are the people who are sitting in their mom's basement, like probably 300 pounds, just trying to feel better about themselves by telling Mr. Olympia, you're doing those curls wrong. You should have a chocolate eclair in one hand and Yoo-hoo in the other,
Maybe. The drive to do it is always strange to me. To have access, that's the thing. It's like you have access to this person. You could ask a question that could mean something, or I don't know, you could say something to someone to connect with them. But then it's a lot of times it's some hilarious. It's like a weird jab, and it's so alien for me. It's difficult to understand, and I'm sure. As with anything, you probably get used to it. I've always just kind of tried to stay away from
I hear that, man. So, it's like if they aren't talking trash, they aren't doing something right, Like if you have haters, you're doing okay.
It doesn't ease my mind about it, but it's
I
the
know,
truth.
I know. Right. Well, let's switch the subjects from internet trolls to highlights. What's a highlight or two that you've had from on the road that you care to share?
Oh boy, I always say the tour Destrophy had in 2009, where we were direct support for Typo Negative, was wow. It's just insane. Even just saying it out loud now, it's and to meet. Peter Steele before he passed. It was I think the next April, and we had to tour with them in October. Halloween with Typo Negative, and it got to hang with this guy. And again, for physical, being a physical frontman, he absolutely influenced. I mean, I changed the style of shirt I was wearing at the time. I was eating more. I'm like, I gotta get bigger, like Peter Steele. When I was, 19, I was, and just the songwriting style and the melodic vibe. It was a huge influence on me. And so, yeah, to get this tour and then to meet the guy, and he's awesome and so self-deprecating and so kind. And, I got to show him, I was using kettlebells at the time. Because, there wasn't gyms like there were even today. I was just thinking about that Anytime Fitness and stuff. That was kind of a new deal. But, yeah, I was showing him the kettlebell and, Russian. It was kind of, I don't know. It was a special time, special moment. I still remember he caught me. I was looking in the mirror, checking myself out, and like seeing how, am I doing okay? And, a little muscle. And he caught me. He was walking by and he's like, "You look good. You look good." Like super nice. Not a hint of condescension. Just a like, man, you're good job.
There you go. That's credential. That's like props so right
cool.
there.
Yeah, man. We got a picture of him from I think it was at Sayreville, New Jersey. Played a huge show with him. He was offside stage watching us play. It was it's a hell of a memory.
Nice, man. Those like shows probably the memory of that will stick with you for a while, especially since you can't go and play with him again. No, unfortunately,
we were the last band to play with him. And funny enough, we kind of got the gig because, first of all, I'm like, how the hell do we get this gig? We're nobody. We just released a album on Victory Records. So our wonderful radio A&R guy, Brett, had pitched us and saying that this front guy is straight edge. He's sober, clean, because Peter at the time was wearing a ankle bracelet that would detect alcohol and I think maybe even weed. And if he would have gotten busted, he would have gone to prison.
Really?
So he was in a situation. I mean, I think they were torn. They needed money as well, and it was, he was in a tougher spot. I think physically, just health problems. He's a big guy.
Yeah, and didn't he used to drink like a whole bottle or two of wine on stage during a show?
He said he talked about that. He said he did that to counter stage fright, which is, and again, hilarious. I mean, I've had the jitters certainly, but I can't imagine on that level, especially when everyone loves you.
I know
it's a different thing when we're going out there like we're just about to go out in front of this audience that probably really just wants to see Typo Negative tonight. But we go and do our thing, and this guy in front of
that's crazy,
fields of people, but he was not that man. When I met him, when we met him, he was, as I said, and maybe he always was this just self-deprecating. I think it always comes through with him. He would just make jokes at his own expense all the time. He said what did he say of us? Destrophy, good guys with terrible haircuts. It was pretty great.
That's perfect. Great. That's perfect.
It was accurate.
One more question about touring with Peter Steele. Yeah. When you were on tour with him, did you dye your hair black?
Oh, I didn't, but we got to sing that song with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We got up on stage and did the black. It's so cool. And he asked, it was like his offer. It was like, hey, we'd love for you to come up and do it. I'm like,
dude, that's awesome right there. That's the highlight. You can't top that right now.
Yeah, and it's funny, like you forget. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened.
Right on, man. So I actually just got a couple more questions for you here. I know I've kept you probably close to an hour. It's getting late to where you are, so we'll roll with these here. Now, when somebody comes to see you perform or listens to one of your albums, what is it that you want them to take away and remember about your performance? Is there something you want them to feel?
Something to feel. I used to use the term this epic sound. It's epic and big. Something, just big, grand. That's always been important to me. And for whatever reason, huge comic book fan. No one could be happier about the state of Marvel dominating the scene than me for this. It's like fell in my lap, my love of comics is, since I can remember. And the thing that's so cool about those things is the epic scale, right? It's all huge. It's usually kind of like small stories in a way, but on this huge scale, just like mythology in general. Mythology is philosophical little vignettes, but set in against epic circumstance or epic characters, bigger than life, and epic is hopefully that's the aspiration. So I hope if they come away with that, that means I did something that I wanted.
Nice, man. Nice. So just an epic sound, an epic feeling, be like a wall of something just hit them.
Yeah. When we used to play, I mean, we kind of got famous for dragging around a bunch of lights with us in the early 2000s, which was again not common.
I do remember that, all the strobes and everything.
Yeah, because and I had it synced to this crazy proto computer, and everyone was like, "Whoa, it's like a little arena show at this tiny club," and that was the vibe. That's what we wanted,
Right on, man. Yeah. So just take that bigger than life experience with it, whether it's a small show or not. I like that. Yep. I like that. Okay, so I actually have one more question. Just one more question left for you. Before we get to that final question, Ari, where can people find you on your corner of the internet if they want personal training, if they want to get an album recorded, or just get directed to some of your music? Cool. Where can they go?
Personal training is ariarmy.com. ARIARMY.com. Recording studio is innerlightrecords.net.
Okay.
And then, I'll probably do some stuff on Instagram pretty soon. I haven't touched it for almost 7 months or whatever.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I know that's how little invested I am. But I'll do something. I feel like some stuff's coming. We didn't even really talk about the Victory Records.
Oh yeah,
scale.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting.
What is going on with Victory? Victory sold to or got bought by somebody. So what's rolling on with that?
I asked my old manager because of this podcast.
Really?
I was like, you know what? We're going to talk some Destrophy. I haven't even thought about Destrophy in a long time. I want to know what is the status of the project as far as Victory is concerned. Because technically I still owe like 3 albums, which would be like, essentially unpaid works of charity.
Yeah.
So, hard to work for that kind of money. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, well, let's just see what happens. Less than 24 hours later, everyone's texting me, "Did you hear about Victory?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Victory just got sold." So now a new label owns it. I'm not sure of the details, but they're going to address, the active roster. I don't know if we qualify as active roster since we haven't done anything since 2011. But they still play that The Way of Your World on Sirius every once in a while. So it's not like it's a loss, money loser currently. So, if they're interested, hey man, I think I can still sing. It's been a minute. I can still play. I've been busting my ass for some reason. I fell in love with just trying to get better as a player, I'd say, over the last couple of years. And so, for not knowing why, just knowing that I wanted to get better, and just been practicing. And I'll try singing a little bit and see if things are still there. And I've been writing some stuff, and I've got something that I was like, man, that could have been the next song. Yeah, man, 2020 could be something come out.
Right on. When you're playing those, you just record those since you have your own studio and be like, I'll come back to this.
Too easy. Yeah. I've just got a bunch of riffs, bunch of files. And there's a couple that, like I said, just speak to me in the way that those, this stuff early on did. And I'm still big on hooks and big epic choruses and big riffs, and big drum beats and just a big sound. I want something like that. And selfishly, I'm looking for some like better gym jams, because I get kind of bored. Like I said, with metal lately, there's some cool stuff. I enjoy that. Like what As I Lay Dying came out. Kubla Khan comes out tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay.
We got Fire from the Gods. I don't know if you heard of them, but man. And then another band I really like, Stray from the Path. They're coming out maybe at the end of the month or something like that. There's some cool stuff out there for sure.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, I'm always looking for like a good new band to check out because, you get I find myself like out here mainly hearing what's on the radio. Sometimes like, no, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Like always looking for some new things, or what I don't want to do is become the guy where, they stopped making good music in the early 2000s.
Dude, I tell you, my Metallica playlist gets a lot of love on Spotify. Yeah. But there's something about, I don't know, there is something about songs, I don't know, maybe God, even around 2000 era or 2005, maybe it's just nostalgia.
Yeah, and that and like even some of like the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Like 90s like STP and stuff like that. It's like that comes on and it's like, all right, this is some good crap.
Something about all those bands back then, like, and this is being a production nerd about it, but they all sounded so different. Completely different, because they were recorded in completely different ways. Whereas now everything, funny enough, you can see this thing behind me, this Kemper, is somewhat responsible maybe for everything sounding the same, because it's like every amp in one little box. Now everyone can use kind of the same stuff, but I don't know. I still think there's creative ways to not sound like everyone else and still sound good. Dance music and electronic, EDM has really set kind of like a standard for bass and, loud everything, and the drums, have to be like perfect, and everything's auto-tuned and all this stuff.
Auto-tune.
There's a lot of rules, but everything's got it on it. It's like hating on Facetune, you know what I mean? Or photoshopping.
They're all what is Facetune?
Facetune is like a baby Photoshop app that, takes a lot of the commands out of it for you. You like hit it, and then all of a sudden your face has
it's a real app?
No wrinkles, and you look like a damn glowy alien usually. But people use it on their regular photos. But yeah, Facetune is the auto-tune of Photoshop, I'd say. But as I say, getting on that, it's just what level you want to take it. Everything's edited, unless it's live. Live,
even this show will be edited
exactly
a little bit, but I try to keep the flow of it the same, but get out some of the uhs and ums, and when it stops recording randomly on you, because I tried to make it sound like it didn't do that, but I'm sure there might be a gap where it's like, oh yeah, it sounds like it stopped recording for a minute.
Right.
But all right, man, you'll have to keep me posted on what happens with Victory, if they're gonna have you put out some more albums or whatnot.
Sure.
If you get the itch to get the gang back together with Destrophy, anniversary show or anything like that.
I can totally imagine playing some show at some point. Just to do again. Can I imagine trying to get in a van and torture myself for a couple months? No, it's not that fun. But if I could put together, I don't know, 10 dates or something,
that'd be cool,
reasonable. Yeah, I think I'd accept it again and again. Going out and playing for 6 people or whatever it is. It's as long as it's enjoyable. I basically, for me, this has been a job for 10 years. I'd say even when we were doing the Destrophy stuff, it was a job. It was not fun. I did it to do that. It would be nice to do it because it was fun, just so I know what that's like again. Like I remember, in high school, and I remember in my early 20s, there was a time when it was actually fun, and it would be. I'd like to go out on that note instead of the more morbid.
Definitely.
My plumbing job.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. All right. So, Ari, I want to thank you for joining me tonight, talking to me, sharing
Pleasure.
advice from music to physical fitness to, to enjoying the anticipation and Greek philosophy and stuff. It's been fun, man. I do have one more question for you.
Yeah.
It's the final question of the show. Ari Mihalopoulos, how do you live uncontained?
I live uncontained. Especially regarding when we talked about the idea of people saying you can't do this. I have heard those words from the beginning, that this is not a good idea. You'll never be able to sustain that. I don't care what it's been, including my physical fitness. Where everyone's like, you won't be into that very long. You can't stay on a diet forever. Things like that. So for one, I'm very competitive, extremely competitive, which has pushed me to learn how to do a lot of things. So if someone says I can't do something, a lot of times I will just figure out how to do it, and I'll do it. So this studio basically was a response to an investigation into a guitar sound that I desperately needed to know how to do. I needed to know how that Metallica sound was made.
Okay.
Right? And, at the time it was kind of one of these like secrets and, just don't worry about it, that type of thing, which obviously drove me even crazier. I studied those magazine articles, like, people study the Shroud of Turin, right? It's like, I needed to know everything about it. And eventually I kind of learned everything about recording. And the same thing happened with doing live sound. Like, I was sick of dealing with terrible, terrible, terrible sound guys and ruining the vibe of the show. So I learned how to do sound, and eventually I was a full sound guy on like the Mayhem tour, with Rob Zombie and
oh wow,
and Mastodon was out, and so I went that far with it. When people were like, "Nah, you can't do that. Can't do your own sound." Eventually I did it. So yeah, I've just never let someone telling me it can't be done ever, not even remotely, influence me. Usually I'll just agree with the person to get them away from me, and then I'll start working on it.
Okay, so you won't even be like, "Yeah, I can." Watch. You'll be like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I can."
Yep. I just need them. I need them away from me. I need people that are against or bad influences or naysayers. Bad mojo. I get it away from me, and I work on it. And there's nothing I haven't been able to do.
In that case, I don't think you can get Destrophy back together again. That will never happen.
Well played. Good job.
All right, man. All right, so that's cool, man. So, real quick before we move on to the closing, like, what is it that you had to sacrifice in order to get to where you are? Or a couple things you've had to sacrifice.
The thing about describing being on the road, because that's basically what I've done for since 2008 in some form or another, a decent part of the year. When you go on the road, your life is here, right?
Yeah.
And everyone else's life keeps going. And then when you come back, your life is still here. And everyone else is like, they're doing their thing. So whatever you would have done, and maybe been in a similar situation, whether that's financially or relationships, just even career paths, all that stuff, you were in the same spot. So it was really strange, obviously, deciding that I'm done. This is the year I'm done. And I'm like, oh, I'm I have to roll the tape back to 2008 before I'm like, okay, this is where I'm kind of at. I need to
Yeah.
refigure out my life and stuff I'm doing. So that's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of time and development. But I think simultaneously you're also having some worldly experiences. I mean, I've been to Europe like 6, 7 times. I've been to
Wow.
Australia. I've been to Brazil. I've been to the Middle East. I've traveled, so no one can say I haven't traveled ever.
Yeah.
And anything that they say, in regards to traveling, I could be like, I got that covered. So, so I got that out of it. But and just learning how to make every place kind of home a little bit. Anywhere I go, I can get comfy quick. Anywhere I go, I can figure out what I need to do to get through my day or to take care of my own needs quick. Being self-reliance is, I'm good. I'm covered.
Wherever you roam, wherever you lay your head is home.
It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. You figure it out, man. You figure out a way to, you end up in a weird location for a couple of days. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Right.
I'll make the best of it. And so that's the upside of it is I think you just get some great life skills, and you deal with some weird people. Every day. Oh, there's a situation you're like, wow, I did not plan for that, and now you got that in your arsenal. You can deal with that person.
Definitely, dude.
Next time.
Definitely. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you,
I've had a blast catching up with you.
Me too.
Let's not wait another 12 years or so, 10, 12 years. I don't even know what year it is right now.
Like 3 presidents.
Yeah, I know.
2.
I know.
No, he had a double.
Yeah, he did have a double. But yeah, so yeah, let's not wait that long to catch back up. Come back on. Let me know what's going on with the new record label.
For sure.
And I guess people will just have to anticipate till the next time you come on the show. And all right, man. Will you do me one final thing, one final favor, and sign off the show for me tonight, Ari?
This is Aristotle Mihalopoulos, and I live uncontained.
And that does it for another episode of Uncontained. Thank you for listening, and thank you to Ari for joining me. It was great catching up with him. And it had been a while, over 12 years or something like that, back when I was on the college radio station. And they were promoting Crystalis. So if you haven't checked out Destrophy yet, even though they're not playing at the moment, make sure you do so, and I'll have their links in the show notes for you to go and check out. So thank you for listening, and until